Hey guys, welcome back to my 1974 Honda CT70 build. So in the last video I got this bike to be a roller, I got the handlebar set up on, and am now ready to start digging into the engine. I initially cleaned up the engine and put in new gaskets, but haven't tested spark or anything on it other than compression. So it was getting decent compression, like around 100 psi, which seems low, but I think that may have been my compression tester. So at least it is making some compression, enough that I'm sure it'll start. I don't know if it'll work well enough, but we'll find that out here shortly. But to test spark, I have just the black lead coming off of the stator connected to the coil, and that's all I should need to actually get this thing to start. And then I have the spark plug plugged into the wire and connected to the engine so that it's grounded. Anyway, I'm going to turn the flywheel here and hopefully I'll see a spark. So I think that may actually have been one of the first times that I've had one of these engines have spark on the first go without having to clean the points or anything. And the spark actually looked pretty good. So I have at least some compression and spark. I'm going to go ahead and put on a carburetor. And I also bought the throttle assembly for the OEM handlebar. So I'm going to get all of that wired up and just try to fire this thing up. So I have a love-hate relationship with the factory throttle system. The love portion is that it is very clean, and the fact that the mechanism is inside of the handlebar I think is pretty cool. I guess the hate part of it is that it seems pretty finicky, and there hasn't been one of these yet that I haven't had to do some filing to make it all work. But again, it is a pretty sharp system when it works right. So for these, I buy the whole kit from CHP Motorsports. It comes with the factory grips, the throttle tube itself, this is the piece that slides up and down the tube. This captures the cable. This is another piece that holds the throttle tube. And this is a set screw. These are all OEM Honda pieces. I don't think they make any aftermarket pieces for this setup. So I'm going to get this set up, the carburetor hooked up. I don't have a fuel tank for this bike, but I do have my fuel bladder that I was using on my CB650 so that I could work on it without the tank, that I should be able to pipe fuel in, and we'll go ahead and try to turn it over. All right, so I'm ready for first start. I've got my ethanol-free fuel bladder up here, and everything is hooked up. There's a lot of gardening noise going outside, but I'm hoping I'm gonna start making a lot of noise in the garage here in just a moment. So fuel seems good. I have it set to the correct reserve port that my fuel is tapped into. I check spark. Again, I checked compression earlier. It was seemingly good enough. I'm just going to spin it by the drill instead of trying to use the kickstart, and let's see what happens. All right, well that was again easy. This has usually been my biggest problem in these builds, but this engine seems to be in good shape. So I'm going to work on a couple of other small things here, maybe let it run a little bit more. A few other things that I think I need to adjust. And then I'll check timing and everything else once I look to get this bike perfect, but really happy that I got a runner. Working on a few different things here this morning. I got the side reflectors on. The aluminum here I was able to just polish up and it looks pretty good, and the plastics are all in good shape, so have those on. And then I've been working on the chain down here. I can never remember the size of the chain that I need. I'm currently running 14 in the front and 35 sprocket in the back. I always just buy a chain that's too big and cut it down. Usually the price is about the same anyway, and it gives me some flexibility. I like to have the axle right in the center so that I have some adjustment forward and backward, but happy with the way that's set up. And so then I've ordered the gas tank, a new wiring harness, I've ordered the key switch, and a few other small things. So I should actually be able to ride this bike around after that next order. Actually, I guess I still haven't ordered the seat. It's kind of difficult to find a K3 series seat. I can find the K4 and the older K0 style. The K4 is so similar to the K3 that I may just go ahead with that for now. But the bike is coming together pretty quickly. Okay, so I've got the engine cover painted and I polished up the cap here. I think that's looking all real good. I have the chain guard on too. I noticed that the shape of this is kind of strange. I have a feeling that this bike at one point had a 12-volt motor and the owner trimmed this ring out to fit the Life-In or Piranha motor. For now, it's fine. It's painted and I think it looks good. I may look to replace this to have the correct looking cut at some point in the future, but for now it's looking really good. And then I'm not sure how well you can see this, but my shifter shaft seal is leaking oil. And actually on my CB650, the exact same thing happened. So I know how to pop that off and pop it back on. I have that on order. So that seems to be the only oil leak I see right now, but I also haven't run the engine very long. So we'll see what other problems I have once I get this thing actually running. And then the last thing I wanted to show was the speedometer I have. I got this on eBay. It was a pretty good deal. I think I paid only about $50, which is great because I've seen them go for $100, and I've even seen some listings for $200. Not that I think they're actually selling at that, but it's in really good shape. I reconditioned as much as I could. I polished up the outer housing, and it came with a lot of the brackets. It actually didn't come with the main bracket, but I had this from the 1976 bike, which I didn't use because I used aftermarket forks, and I had 3D printed a mount for the speedometer, so it was great that I was able to repurpose that for this bike. But overall, it seems to be coming together pretty quickly. So I still need the seat and the electronics and a few other things, but hopefully in the next couple videos, it'll be a first ride and then it'll be on to the nitty gritty and finishing this bike up. So thanks everybody for watching. Stay tuned for more videos.